Christian woman, right? And I remember being younger and listening to some of the elders in the church. They make it seem like counselors. Pray and talk to God and, have the elders pray for you. And that's not saying that anything's wrong with that.
Right.
However, there's something about discussion. Having discussions that will deliver outcomes and insights.
Yeah, when you're dealing with trauma, and yes, prayer works. Don't get me wrong. Prayer works. And let me tell you, my counselor was a Christian. I prayed.
Welcome back to the Reset with Nat podcast. My name is Natalie Walters, and I have a special guest today, Lesa Rose.
Yes.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad that we actually get to do this. Right? We're just meeting in person for the first time, but I feel like I've known you for so long. Right?
The journey, and the beauty of being authentically you. And building connections through being yourself, because like you said, this is our first time meeting, but the energy online matches, if not exceeds, the expectation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I appreciate that. Yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy for people to put themselves out there online in the first place, right?
you know that there are people out there that are trolling, right? That are just ready to put you down because you've actually been vulnerable and been authentic and you're actually putting yourself out there. But the beauty in it is that you get to meet people like Natalie. You get to meet people that are real and authentic and that reach out to you because they care. And I think that's the best thing that comes from being vulnerable and authentic in social media.
Yeah, it is. And okay, so there's also something about divine timing as well, right?
Yes.
Because we met online, we've been communicating, and we were supposed to record before, but it wasn't the right time, right? And Lesa was basically like, it's okay. You're going through a transition. It's okay. Contact me when you're ready. And I appreciate you for being mindful of that, because not everybody understands that. It's like you cancel, and then you feel bad. But I appreciate that you gave me grace with that. And today's topic is definitely about rediscovering your best self, and that is the premise of the Reset with Nat podcast, right? I speak to women over 35. So if you're younger, then you're getting the gems. If you're within the
Gems,
you're getting the gems.
You're getting it.
And if you're in the age range and beyond, then you understand some of the things that are going on, right?
Yeah.
And in the process of rediscovering your best self is also preparing for unexpected, or what happens when the unexpected happens, right?
Yeah.
And Lesa has a very unique story because she has a different trail. Your main area of employment, career path, shifted.
Big shift. Let me tell you a story, guys. So I work in the education sector. I work with children with special needs, so behavioral, autistic, and I did that for 12 years. In 2019, I'm going to take you back to September of 2019, because that's where it all started. I went into work and something felt off. And I was sensing that, and every day I was getting up and I was just like, don't want to be here, just not. And I felt off, and I remember going to speak to my principal and just telling her how I was feeling. She was, Lesa, if you really need to take time off, do that.
Right.
But I was so caught up in these children need me. What are they going to do without me? That I kept going to work with that same feeling. And that year I was supposed to go on a missions trip to Haiti. I was doing that for the past 2 years.
Okay.
So I'd taken 2 weeks off without pay because this trip meant so much to me, and the trip was canceled because of all the crazy things that were happening in Haiti.
Right.
And I decided that I would go to work instead of staying home.
Right.
And so when I look back now, I look on the date that I got injured. And so a door was slammed into my back. I got injured, But the day that that happened. It was November the 29th, 2019, and I remember the date because I was supposed to be returning from Haiti on that day. So I got injured and I was out. Like, I didn't even understand what was happening. I think in the height of everything, it was like, you know, when you're what do they call it, fight or flight. And so I was like, you know, I was moving. I was like, yeah. But the minute I sat down, the pain took over my body, and it was like I couldn't move. And I was like, okay, I'm leaving. Like, I'm going. And I went to the doctor, and it was hard because I like to tell people now I'm a recovering workaholic.
Recovering workaholic.
Right? Like, because I wouldn't stop. I just kept going, right? It was my life. That's who I was. If you asked me who I was in 2019, I would have said, oh, I'm a special needs assistant.
But you also have a heart.
Yeah.
You have a heart for your children and what you were doing. Those children and what you were doing.
I did.
That's special.
Yeah. I absolutely loved working with them, and I loved being there. But when I got injured, it was, I want to say it was a wake-up call, but I didn't get that.
Oh.
I didn't.
It wasn't that yet.
It wasn't that yet because, so I couldn't physically go to work, and I had to go to physio, and there was a bunch of like emotional trauma and mental trauma and stress and things that I was going through. And so I had to go into counseling. I had to. Yeah. I never thought that I could feel a certain way towards a child. Oh. And it, like, just thinking about it, like, hurts me because I was like, they did it on purpose. Like, and so I was feeling like, well, they need to get in trouble. That didn't happen, of course, you know, education, whatever. But I had to work through that, right? And it was like being a Christian was the next thing too, right? Because I was like, I shouldn't be feeling this. I shouldn't be feeling this. And so I was trying to stuff those emotions, but they were real. Yeah, they were real. And so I had to walk through that process of, this is how I was feeling at the time. This is an emotion that had to leave my body. But I was holding on to it for so long, and then so just seeing a counselor and talking through it, and then understanding, and then just asking God to forgive me, but also to forgive the student. Okay. Right? Because now I'm not only thinking about myself, and I'm injured, and I can't move, and I can't work, and all this loss that I've suffered. Right. But I'm like, they're gonna have to live with that for the rest of their life. Right. I'll be okay. But they're gonna have to live with that, right? And so I finally got to a place where I was like, okay, I forgive them, and I could go to them, and I could be with them, and not feel fear of something else happening to me, because that was something that, you know, that's another emotion that came up. Emotion, yeah, fear, because I'm like, oh, what if, right? This could happen again. But you know, thank God it didn't. Right. And so that brought me to. So I was off work for a while. But in that time, I was like, if I can't do this job, what can I do? Okay, so hold on. Yeah. Because, so you're on the job, you got injured. A job that you love. Yes. You're passionate about. Passionate about, yes. And in that same, and this is life. This is the thing that happens in life, right? The unexpected happens. Yeah. And even for you, you were saying, like, something didn't feel right ahead of time. This is what we got to learn, to listen to our intuition, our spirit, our God's talking to us, you know, however you want to state it. The fact of the matter is, when something doesn't feel right, sometimes we got to sit with that for a moment and be like, you know what, I'm not making a move. You know, the funny thing is about in that time, I had a, what are they called? A youth worker. Right. And he came to me and he said, you know, I was talking to him about how I was feeling. Like, I have like these children, they're just getting mad. Like, I'm just mad all the time. Like, and he's like, I think you're suffering from compassion fatigue. Ooh. And I was like, whatever. Anyways, moving right along. Compassion fatigue? Yes. I've never heard of that. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know what it was, honestly. I was just like, I had to look it up because I was like, I've never even heard of this. But it was basically how I was feeling. Like, I was tired of everything that was happening. like to the point where, you know, we're compassionate people and then we just get tired because nothing is changing. Everything is the same and it just keeps happening. And I was like, oh, so I even missed that sign I missed.
Right.
Right? Like, maybe it's time to take a break. And he said the same thing to me, like, maybe, you know, you need to take some time off. And like I said, my brain was like, no, I gotta work. Like, I gotta do this. Like, I gotta work.
Right.
So then it was like January 2020 now, and I'm off work, and I'm like, okay, what can I do? And the previous year, I'd gotten lash extensions.
So hold on. So because of that, did you make the decision not to go back into the field, or was it because you didn't go back because of like the injury and how the effects of the injury?
No, I'm stubborn.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit. No, so I couldn't go back to work for a little bit.
Okay.
Right? So I was off from November, December, January, February. I went back in March.
Okay.
Went back in March.
Okay.
And a little apprehensive about going back, but I was like, okay, no, I gotta try this. Let me do this. And so I went back in March, and of course 2020.
Yes. Okay.
Right? COVID happened, right? So I went to work for like a week. It was March break. And in the same movements, I was like, Lord, I'm not ready. Like, I'm just not ready to go back. And then I got home the Friday, and then on the news it said, March break extended, right? Extended until the end of. And I was like, yes, thank you. I was so happy, because I was like, I knew like in my heart of hearts that I wasn't ready to go back.
Right.
And so to hear that, I was like, yes, I get a couple weeks to like just settle back into how things used to be.
Right.
And of course, we were off until, you know, everything was happening online, you know, like some still, you know, happening online. And
Right.
September of 2020, I went back out to work.
Okay.
Different school, because I was like, I don't want to be there anymore.
Right.
I put in a request. They put me in a new school.
Okay.
That was a decision that I should have done.
Oh.
But anyways, that was worse.
Okay, so hold on. That was worse, but then something happened. Let's because I want to hear, because you're ready to tell me about this transfer, like this transition.
So the transition happened in March, where I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do lash extensions. I'm gonna take the course.
So hold on, how come lash extensions?
I was so for my anniversary in 2019, we were going away, and I thought, okay, let me do lash extensions. I wanted my, you know, I'm not a makeup person, you know, so I was like, let my eyes look good. You know, sometimes we gotta look spruce, right? So I was doing it, and I was talking to the lash technician about, you know, how did you get into this, and what's it like, does it pay, and blah blah blah. And I was like, I could do this. Yeah, I could do this. And so that was the thing. So while I was home off work, I was busy trying to find a school to attend to do this.
So you had hit. That's another thing. See, life has another way of moving you. And even though you're resistant, it will still move you because of that. You weren't. This is not a passion that you had. No. This was just you falling into something because you were already seeking. You were seeking an escape. From what you were doing.
And I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize it. And so September. So what happened then? So I took the course, and I was like ready to start my business. I'm an entrepreneur, you know, right? Feeling really good. And then, you know, COVID, and then everything shut down. It was like, okay, so now I'm not doing it. But what happened in that time was in September of 2020, when we go back out to work now, I'm at this new school. I'm struggling in this new school because it's COVID, it's a new school, new teachers. Everything's new for me.
Right.
And I'm still dealing with the fear of being injured, and then I'm dealing with one student that is continuously slamming doors, and it's continuously like irksing me, like it's continuously like bringing back these
traumas. It's like
And so one day I literally had to like leave work. Like I'm like, okay, I gotta go.
That's enough.
Here, right? That's enough. But you think that would stop me? No, I got up the next day, still feeling like, you know, I don't want to go to work today. And I went to work. And I continued to go to work, and then it was October. So it was October, I'm at work, I'm having lunch, I'm excited because it's my anniversary again, right?
Okay.
So now a year, like it's my anniversary again. We've made plans, we're going away for a couple days, excited. I'm at work, I'm having lunch, and I feel sick. And I'm like, oh my God, this feeling. I'm so I'm like, okay, you know what, I have to leave. I go home, I'm curdled in a fetal position because I'm in so much pain.
Right.
And I'm like, I know this feeling, and it's happened before, and the last time it happened, I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I'm at home, and I'm like, I can't pass out now, because what was happening was every time I felt like I was going to throw up, that was another trauma experience that I had, throwing up, I would pass out and end up in the hospital.
Oh.
And so this time I'm home now, and my children are home.
Okay, thank God.
And so now I'm like, I can't pass out, because I don't want them to experience that trauma. So I literally had to throw up. And so I started throwing up, and then I knew. I waited for my husband to come home, and I said, babes, you gotta take me to Emerge. Because I knew what it was.
Okay.
So it was another blockage, and I was in the hospital. And that continued to happen in and out of the hospital 4 times in a year with blockages.
So what are blockages?
So bowel, like,
oh, intestinal?
Like,
oh, okay.
Like serious, like, okay, we're keeping you in, okay, we may have to do surgery. And I'm thinking, Lord, please no more surgeries. Like, I'm done. Like, I just didn't want any more. I've had so many, and I'm just like, I don't want any more. And so by the grace of God, no, I didn't have surgery.
Good.
But I was in the hospital at least between 5 and 7 days each time.
Oh.
Each time. So my business that I started, that, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. That was put on hold. And so there was a time when I started to feel better, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do something else. Because now I'm so sick that I can't really sit to do lash extensions.
Right.
So I started to do lash lifts, right? And that's just basically lifting your lashes, your natural lashes, working with natural lashes.
Pulling
right?
it.
So it looks like they're extended, but they're not. And so I started doing that because I was like, hey, this is something else that I can do. And then I was like, I've always wanted to do nails, right? From when I was younger. I was like, I've always wanted to do nails. So
Okay.
I'm going to do nails. I'm going to go. And so they had a manicure and pedicure, and I thought, oh, I'd just become an esthetician, right? I do waxing and just do all the stuff, facials and whatever. That happened to me too, don't worry. That's I don't know if it's as you're aging, everything just decides it doesn't work. But anyway, so so I got into manicures and pedicures, and while I was doing that, I was like, I'm never going to offer pedicures. But anyways,
but hold on,
that's another story.
Did you officially leave the school at this point?
No.
Okay.
No. So in and out of the hospital at that point, I'm now. This is, I think, the dates are all like smushed together, so I don't remember dates, but I remember like I was doing online work because I didn't want to stop working. I did not want to stop working. My doctor kept saying, I think you need to take time off, and I said, no, I'm good. I can work from home, and so.
You see, me, one thing about me is, listen, you tell me I need to, I relax.
Different now. But then it was all about the, I gotta go, I gotta do this. And so
it's part of how
I was,
You felt purpose, you felt good doing.
And so I think it was during the break, and it was in April of that year. And I was going for a walk, and my body just felt so relaxed. And I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't felt this in so long. And then I went back to work after the break, and my body started feeling tense again and whatever. And so I was like, all right, Lesa, it's time. So I called my doctor, and I said, I need to take time off. I need to heal. Like, I'm trying to do all this stuff. I'm not healing. And then being sick and out of the hospital, that was something else, honestly. It was traumatic, but at the same time, I'm so thankful to God for going through what I went through, because it got me to pause even when I didn't want to, and to look at who I was, right? And who I thought I was, and to really focus on who God said that I was, which was the most important thing, right? What I was believing about myself was not what He was saying about me, right? And so got me to do that, and so many things happened. Like I got a counselor, I started therapy.
Hold on. Because there's a few different things that's happening here, right? And it's like Lisa's on the go, right? But at the same time, life is still happening to her in a way where, like I said, I'll take the break. If the doctor told me to take the break, I would probably, especially if my job bothers me. Right? But at the same time, you were like, no, I am of service, right? That's one thing. But your body starts to tell you things. And sometimes we're talking about aging, because my eyes started running just now, and actually it's still running. I don't know, it's not spring, so I don't know if my eyes carrying on. But at the same time, it's like you were saying, your body started to tell you things.
Yeah.
And you're feeling it. You're having something in your mind is also recognizing it, but at the same time, there's another overpowering thought that says, no, you got to keep going. Then life hits and it actually slows you down. And a lot of the times we're not paying attention to our bodies.
Yeah.
And the one thing I want to say is that I hope, especially for women who are, any woman, I don't care what age range you're in, it's important for us to listen to our internal system and pay attention to our thoughts. When people are speaking to us, sometimes we're out there thinking, okay, someone's talking to you or they're telling you this because it's not in your best interest. There's a lot of that messaging that's out there, right? Oh, people are haters, yada yada. No, sometimes there are people that are speaking to you because they're looking out for you. And we have to use discernment to recognize what is what. Right? But I am happy that through your processing, you're trying new things. And that's the point that I was going to say, is because I do speak to a lot of people who are in the process of, children are growing up. They're different. Their life's different. It's not about them as much anymore, because they're like, I don't really need your help, mom.
I know.
So you now have to get in the position of, how do I care for myself in these next stage of life, right? So with that said, I like that you started to explore new things. I'll say to you out there, if you're a person who's resistant, this is the time for you to stop being resistant, especially if you're unhappy, especially if your body's telling you something. Sometimes we're too busy thinking, oh, well, my job security, yada, yada, yada. Nobody's saying give up your job right away.
Take the break. Take the break if you need to take the break, right? Listen, we need to learn to listen to, you're right, we need to learn to listen to our bodies more, because we don't do it enough, right? As women, we don't clue in to what our bodies are saying to us, and I missed it. Right? I didn't miss it. I ignored it. And I kept ignoring it, and I kept ignoring it. And all those visits to the hospital was stress and fear and just thinking negatively. So when I say I got into counseling, I got into counseling. Like,
hold on, because that word, I was saying what I was saying, but then I'm thankful for bringing us back to that word, because you're a Christian woman, right? And I remember being younger and listening to some of the elders in the church. They make it seem like counselors. Pray and talk to God, and have the elders pray for you. And that's not saying that anything's wrong with that. However, there's something about discussion, having discussions that will deliver outcomes and insights.
When you're dealing with trauma, and yes, prayer works, don't get me wrong, prayer works. And let me tell you, my counselor was a Christian. I prayed. I said, Lord, I don't need to see anyone that's not a believer. I need to see someone that's a believer, because this is important to me. And he guided me through a friend to see this particular counselor, and she worked with me to overcome. I also got a coach at the same time.
Oh wow! I
was like, this is my time to really discover who I am. And I'll be 52 next month. Yeah. I don't know what Lisa eats. Right? But it was time to finally discover who I was, and to know that I am God's child.
Amen.
And he is with me, and he is for me, and there's nothing that I can do that he won't, like, he'll love me less. He won't love me any less because of, right? He loves me because, right? And so it was just through counseling, working through this negative mindset, right? Like, didn't realize just how negative my thoughts were. But, you know, praise God that, you know, I'm learning what it means to have a renewed mind, right? A lot of us, we're like, yeah, okay, we know the scripture, it says renew your mind, right? Like, but we don't understand that it takes work. It takes work, especially when those thoughts are flooding and you're just like, you're bombarded and you're like, oh my goodness, like just spending like this time off is glorious.
Amen.
Like, it's glorious. Like,
Good.
it's just, all right, I get this time to be with the Lord. I get this time to talk to people. I get this time to put myself out there. I get this time to spend time with my husband. I get this time to be with my children and to see just the connections that I have and how important they are, right? Whereas before it was like, you know, when you say your priorities, my number one priority, even though I had a family and I had a husband, they weren't my number one priority. Work was my number one priority.
Hold on. Give me 1 second, because I have to reset the it comes off at 30 minutes.
Oh.
So before it hits the 30 minutes, I want to make sure that I know. The love was the work.
Yeah. Like, it was like work, thank God, then my family.
Okay.
Right? And so not having a job, not working, not be able to, like, literally when I say I was stripped from my job, my body fell apart, right? And then mentally I was like, a basket case. Emotionally I was like a basket. I was going through some spiritual things were happening. But I got to reorganize myself, right?
Okay.
Like, I got to go, okay, what's important, right? And this is when it finally hit me that if I don't have my health, if I don't take care of me, I can't really take care of my family.
Right.
And they're the next thing to me. And so it was then that I started to see that these kids, they don't need me. They don't need me. They have a family.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they go home to their family and they're fine.
Yeah.
And I'm like struggling, and my family's seeing me go through this.
Yeah.
Worried about me, and you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it was just like, no, Lesa, you can't, right? And so it was just working through that whole, like, instead of putting work first, now God, my family. Everything else afterwards. Right?
And then career changes in between, or no, career exploration in between. Because the lashes came, but then you know, and then you went to nails.
Yes, and so there was a time when I was going. I wasn't fully 100%, but I was like, I'm going to take some classes because I'm a doer. And sometimes that's not good, especially when the Lord is saying, just sit and be with me, right? Like, it's a bit, I'm like, okay, what else could I do? What else could I do? And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take some classes. And I took the skincare, I took waxing, I took manicure and pedicure.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to offer these services. And then as I was getting into it, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do facials. Like, I can't. It's too much. And then the waxing, I was just like, yeah, that's too much. And then I was like, okay, I'll do hands. Like, I want to work with natural hands. No fake stuff. Let's just do the natural lashes, natural hands. I had said during the course that I refused to offer pedicures.
Oh.
I don't like the food. I know, right? It was like, yeah, no. No, thank you.
Yeah.
And so as I was doing it, there was just like a switch. Like, it was like, oh, okay, I kind of like this.
Hold on. Do you mean like as you were an entrepreneur doing it as a service? So you were doing it once. Was it that some clients were like, well, please, can you do my fee? That made you offer it? Or was it like,
so I started to say I'm going to do it, and
okay.
Then so they're like, okay, I had a client. I was like, okay, you're doing my hands. Okay, now you can do my feet. And I was like, okay, reluctantly, like, okay, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I started to do it, and it was just like, man, I actually like this. It's not so bad. Like, it was just, I just find that with feet, and people don't realize it, they're more relaxed with their feet. Their hands, they're stiff. They're like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, they're
True.
you know, when you get your hands done,
That's
you're
true.
a little like
'Cause that's
apprehensive,
control.
right? Because you're
Yeah.
like worried about, oh, what are they gonna do? So you're like, you hold your hand stiff, and But with the feet, people are just
Like,
they're just relaxed.
Yeah.
Like they're just relaxed, and I'm working on the feet, and I'm doing my thing, and so doing that, and still healing at the time, right? Still
Right.
walking through my issues, food issues. There was a time when, I know I'm all over the place, but there was a time when I was on fluids for 6 months.
oh,
For those of you that are following me on Instagram or Facebook, I did post something
Yeah.
last week about then and now, and I've never posted a picture of what I look like then.
oh,
Never. That was the very first time I posted a picture. I would post my face.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that.
right.
But I never posted
Full body?
Full body. And so even when I got to do that post,
Then and now.
it was like last week, right? Like when I looked at the photo, I thought, oh my God, I look sick.
I'm gonna insert the photo. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like then and now. Yeah, I was like, I look sick. I was wearing my children's clothing.
Oh.
I was wearing, but I was like, oh, I'm skinny now, because that was like, I was like, I'm skinny now, right?
Right.
But I was
Not
sick.
recognizing.
I was so unhealthy, so unhealthy, right? And so I remember 2023 came around, and I was offering pedicures, and I had like 1 or 2 clients because I was still not well. I was still struggling with foods and everything,
Right.
and
Okay.
I-
Hold on. What? Am I following you on another account? How are we talking all the time, but it says I'm not following you? Oh, this is my other page. Okay, good. Okay, good. So because I was like, hold on, I didn't see the
we are
photo. but-
following each other.
Okay.
We're having conversations.
Okay.
It's real. It's happening. It's not in our head. It's not in our
I have different pages. I'm like, what's going on here? Okay, but I had to go look at the photo because I follow Lesa. I'm like, it didn't come up on my timeline.
Yeah.
That's another thing about when you follow people. You gotta look out when you don't see their posts. But
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I see the difference
Yeah,
that you're
the
showing.
difference,
So
yeah.
at that point, you felt good. You were like, okay, I'm okay.
I only said I was okay because I was skinny.
Right. Oh,
Right?
okay,
There's that other
okay.
thing too, that women feel like they have to be this size to be accepted into this world, and blah 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 blah. Right. But I wasn't healthy.
Right. Okay.
Right. So there's skinny and healthy, and there's skinny and unhealthy. I was
Right.
unhealthy.
Okay.
Even though I liked somewhat the appearance of being skinny, I wasn't healthy.
Okay.
And so that's not sustainable,
Yeah.
right? So, but then I looked at my 2023 picture,
Yeah.
and I looked at my face specifically,
Cool.
and I thought, that's healthy. And I was like, what did I do? What was different about that? And that was just like the journey into becoming fully me.
Oh.
That was the whole health journey, the journey with the Lord, just everything, just like coming together and going, okay, that was me looking back now at like 2019 and 2020 and going, oh Lord, I see what you were trying to do then. You wanted me to stop until
Right.
2023, January. I took a 6-month hiatus
Okay.
because he was like, I need you to stop. And I was like, but what am I going to do?
What?
What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Right.
And he's like, I just want you to be with me.
Okay. So when he said just be with me, it seems like it's another transition because when God tells you to stop, that stop will bring you some wonderful things,
Yeah.
right? But the thing is, we have to listen.
We have to
And we
listen.
have to stop.
Yeah. And I was at that point, I was like, I'm not gonna be disobedient anymore.
Okay.
I'm gonna listen. And so I sent out an email to my clients, and I said, for the next 6 months, I won't be offering any services. So if you want to come in now is the time. And I shut down for 6 months. And in those 6 months, it was so amazing.
Yeah?
So it was good. I got to be with, like, spend time in his presence, reading his word, and really like focusing on the counseling I was getting, the coaching I was getting, focusing on my walk with the Lord, focusing on my family, focusing on my children. I got the time to do that.
Right.
And although it was hard, because it wasn't easy.
I can, yeah,
Right?
it's not your, based on how you are.
Yeah, I'm used to like, it was like, all right, so what do I do now? Like, and he's just like, just sit and just enjoy the time, right? Because you're not going to get it back.
Yeah.
Right? And so to fully become who you are, you've got to get past this trauma.
Tell them.
You've got to fully become who you are, you have to get past the trauma. You have to get past your hang-ups and your hurts. And you have to get past the negative mindset. Because for me to walk into who he's called me to be, that has to fall away. And so that was that time. That was that time, right? And so it was like, okay, now my mind is working a little better. My emotions are working a little better, right?
Yeah.
My body is starting to heal, right? And not realizing that a lot of what was happening here was affecting this.
Okay.
So like when we live in fear, it affects the body.
Yeah.
Right? Right? And so it's like, it's either fear or love. Can't do both. So which one was dominating my life? Fear. Right? It was dominating my life. I honestly, it was dominating my life. If I go into like, when I started seeing different, because the time that I was sick that year, I was seeing so many different specialists because they were all trying to figure out what was wrong.
Right.
And you want to know the funny thing? Every test came back fine. It's like there was one test where they're like, we're going to test you for Crohn's, and then they're like, oh, it looks like you have the markers for Crohn's. And then they would test me again, and they're like, nope, you don't have the markers for Crohn's. Oh, let's test you for this. Nope, you don't have that. Let's test you for this. Nope, you don't have that. Let's test you about
that. Must be very overwhelming in itself.
I was,
because like, I need an answer.
I was mad.
Yeah.
But I wasn't seeing that. God was showing me.
It's
right?
You're not listening to me.
He was literally showing me that you're fine. You just gotta believe it. Right? I wasn't believing. I believed, like literally, when I sit back and think, I'm like, I believe something was wrong.
Yeah.
And so all those tests, like they had, like, you need to find something. And I would go back to the doctor and be like, you need to find what's wrong because something's wrong. Like, you need to figure out what it is.
Right.
Right? Because I was like, yeah, I believed it. And so even in that, with the fear, when they said to me, okay, we want you to just write down whatever trigger foods that you have, it became an obsession. It was an obsession.
So your journaling was intense.
and I love journaling, but this book that I had about 3 or 4 of these little books of what I ate, what came in, what went out, everything. If it wasn't written on the paper, it didn't go in my mouth.
Okay.
It was bad. One day I was sitting looking outside, and I was like, I had my journal, I was sitting there and looking outside, and then the Lord just said, you gotta stop. And I was like, stop what? Like, I'm doing everything. Like I'm living, I'm like enjoying,
right.
You know, my faith is like being increased daily, and he's like, you're living in fear. And I was like, what? And he's like, look at what you're doing. And I looked down.
So hold on. So when you say it was like you're living in fear, what were you living in fear of?
So remember I mentioned before, I was in and out of the hospital with all these blockages.
Okay,
so
right.
I would get out of the hospital and I would be on the soft food diet, and then I would like graduate to like, you know, full foods. And, but it was the whole, every time I was about to put something in my mouth, there was that
You're
fear
nervous.
Of, it might happen again. So that was the fear. So me writing it down was fear.
Okay.
But then me putting it in my mouth was fear that something, and so I stopped eating a lot of things because I was like, oh, it's hurting me. Right? So you stop eating it because it's hurting you, right? You know, at this point now I'm becoming so attuned with my body that whenever I feel something,
you know, I
know something's happening. So then I stopped eating, and then I would go back to fluids. So it was just a period where it was like, first it was 2 weeks solids, 1 week fluids. And then I graduated to, up until I was doing 5 weeks solids, 1 week fluids, right? But that's when the Lord was like, you have to stop. You can't keep living in fear of something is going to happen. And so it was that day the journal went garbage. I got up, I threw, like literally all the ones that I was holding on to, I threw out, I stopped recording stuff. And then he introduced me to an Ayurvedic, I don't know if that's how you say it, but she's a nutritionist.
Okay.
Ayurvedic or something, nutritionist. And through her help, I am where I am today.
Okay.
Like I can say that all the foods that were bothering me are no longer bothering me. And she I was seeing a naturopath, I was seeing a dietitian, like I was seeing all the doctors, right, to get this gut healthy. And I had a conversation with her, and I just said to her, I can't eat onions, I can't eat garlic, I can't eat tomatoes, I can't eat. And she goes, your gut's not healthy. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I've been taking these supplements, I've been doing this, she's like, no, because garlic, onions, tomatoes, those are anti-inflammatories. Those are good gut things, right? And I was like, oh. So more work to do, right? More healing to happen. But it's, if I had gone back out to work, right? And this was the time where I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to my doctor. So my doctor says I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And that's just it. Even if I think I'm ready, if she says I'm not ready, I'm not ready.
Right. This
is when I started to listen to my doctor, because my doctor could tell you. She could tell you, like she could say, Lisa, I don't think it's time to go back. And that's what she said the whole entire time I was sick. I would take a week off and I'd go back out to work.
Wow.
I would be in the hospital. I would come out of the hospital. I'd take a week off and I'd go back out to work. Glutton for punishment.
But hold on. See, this sounds like it should be in a book. So it sounds like there's parts of this where there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
Health, mental health. You also are a person who is very, I don't know, not to say, well, you're progressive.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why you're like, they need me.
Yeah.
I need to be there. If I'm not there,
who's going to be there for them?
Listen, I don't care if there's another teacher there or a supply. They're not going to handle these children when you.
The way that I handle them.
First of all, she was like, listen, those are my children over there, okay? I need to show up for my children.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different things that happen here on your journey. Is there a book? Okay. Because I've seen, we talked, and I want them to know. It is, and it's especially because the faith part of this journey has allowed you to now tell us where we're going with this book.
So in 2020, I think 2022, I was starting to feel better, but not fully better, and I started to do some volunteer things. But it was just every time I went out, I would meet someone, talk to someone, they would say to me, you need to tell your story, you need to write your story. And I was just like, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm in it. Like, I don't know how to tell it. I don't know how to share it. And I just kept hearing that. And I kept the prompting, write your story. And I would say, yes, Lord, yes. Write your story, yes.
Yeah.
Never did.
Oh, gosh.
Never did. But, like, towards the end of that year, I got a message from someone saying, hey, I would love for you to be a part of my anthology, which is a bunch of women writing a chapter in a book.
Okay.
And so I was like, I started laughing when I read it, because I was like, Lord, you're joking, because I haven't started yet. Like,
right.
I haven't started. You're joking, Lord. And I was praying about it, and I talked to my husband about it, and he's like, if you feel this is where, if you think this is what the Lord's telling you to do, then do it. And so I co-authored in an anthology, which was published in 2023.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I forgot the book. I know. But
don't worry. I'm going to read the book first, and then we're going to come back and talk about your chapter within this book.
Yeah.
I love that opportunity in the first place. It's like, there were downloads of people coming to you and saying, you got to tell your story, you got to tell your story. Because a lot of the times, there's other people like yourself in a similar situation. And if people aren't sharing, I mean, it's not to say you have to tell everybody your business, but if we don't share, it could help somebody else down the path, cut out their stress.
Our
way in advance.
Our experiences, our journey is not for us, right? Even though we're experiencing it, we're experiencing it so that we can share it with other people who are going through, may have gone through, or will be going through the same things. And so I'm just learning that, even though it's taken me so long, nothing happens before it's time.
Right.
Nothing happens before it's time. And so even like us getting together,
Yeah,
nothing happens
true.
before it's time. And so I'm so grateful that you invited me.
Yes.
I don't even know how we even got onto the topic of this podcast, but I'm so glad that you invited me and that we get this opportunity to share with each other about our lives and what's happening. I know that like there's a lot happening with your, and I know this podcast is your podcast, but I know that there's a lot, there's a lot happening in your life, and I'm so for it. Like I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. Like, you know, we realize that there are people watching us, right? Yeah. People are looking, they may not comment, they may not say, but they're watching. And so me watching you pivot and turn, it was amazing. Like I love seeing it, and I just love hearing when you come on and you're talking about, you know, you're giving people advice based off of what you've gone through. Yeah, right? And I think that that's, now that I'm learning to do that, I think that that's so important.
It's rewarding.
It is
rewarding when you get that feedback, and also it's a release.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like you said, some things are you fear. Well, it's also shame. You're ashamed of something, but sometimes you just listen. For me to get over, let me just talk it out. Because at the end of the day, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
You know, and then you find out there's other people like, oh girl,
right? Like, oh, you experienced
something. Yeah. You know, so I appreciate you saying that. Now, I would like, we're going to have you back on where we're going to focus on your chapter of the book. But can you tell, what's the name of your chapter within this book? What's the name of the book?
The book is called Empowered Transformations, Real Stories of Hope. And so I just want to share that. From that, I'm now a compiler of my own anthology. And I think that's how we got started, right? And so I'm excited about what's next. Right. But I'm also excited about what the Lord is doing, not just in my life, but the people that I've connected with. Right. Like I just love to see him move, and I love to see people grow and learn and just glow. Yeah. Right? They glow. Yeah. Yeah, there's a glow to you, and I know there's a glow to me.
For sure. For sure. And listen, okay, so I mean, even so this podcast episode and the discussion and timing and where we are and sharing, it goes back to a discussion that I had with a lady 2 years ago. And she said to me, I think you should do a podcast. It needs to be an interview style, like have discussions with people. I never met the lady in real life yet, you know. I need to bring her on the podcast.
Yes, you need to bring her.
She needs to come on here.
You gotta bring her.
I do have to bring her because you know what? I went to the podcast summit.
Right, I saw that. I saw that on your feed. Yes.
And even after when I went there, I had a breakdown.
What?
Oh yeah, because I was like, I don't know what the podcast is going to be about.
But you knew.
I knew I was going to do it, but I didn't know exactly how to, because I was like, okay, I am an insurance and investment advisor. I'm going to talk about money, and I was trying to include all of that, but that's not where my, that's definitely a passion for our family, our living, and one part of our purpose, but I'm very much a heartful person with a good story, and I like discussion, and I like to hear things from people, right? Yeah. So the gentleman, there was someone there, and they asked me, what was your reset? And when he asked me that, I just broke down in tears, and I was like, oh gosh. And then I went back home, came back home, and then that's where it was like rediscovering your best self. So interesting enough, like you said, not in the time we expected, but we gotta start listening and just making small movements. Yeah, small movements. Yeah, for sure. If we actually listen right away, we'll actually be ahead. Yeah. But that's okay. We don't listen. God knows we're not gonna listen either. He knows. So we go our journey. Yeah. We take our journey the way it goes. But I really want to thank you for being here today, because it's fulfilling for me to know that I can meet people online. Yeah. They have a story to tell. There's a community of people who want to hear the story or need to hear the story, and I'm providing an outlet for it. Yeah. And you are also, brave enough to come and share a part of your story with my audience, right? Thank you. So thank you, Lesa, and you're going to come back on. We're going to definitely talk about the book, but you're going to send me the book first, because I got to read it, and then we'll go from there. Okay, for sure. All right? Looking forward to it. Excellent. Right. So Thank you all for tuning in to the Reset with Nat podcast. Lisa, please leave your information. How can they contact you?
So if you guys want to reach me, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and it's all at Lesa Rose BB.
All right, and it's going to be in the show notes, okay? And with everything you do, have faith, stay focused, and always follow through.
Yes.
Have a great one.